Welcome to the WiseDome podcast, a series that is so much more than just a podcast series. This is a movement towards a lifestyle you know you deserve. It's all about the ease of inspiring and sharing your knowledge and experiences online. I'm your host, Nikki, and I have always admired those who share their wisdom, those who have decided to inspire others. Just like my guests, I found my version of inspiring others by sharing my wisdom and created a lifestyle I wanted, and I'm going to share all the secrets for how you can too. On this show, you'll find inspiration, motivation, and advice from experts, as well as valuable tips on how to get started or improve your business. Let's dive into how you can begin and grow your wisdom business. Remember, inspiring others looks different for everyone. How will you inspire? Welcome to the WISDOME podcast, and today we're chatting with a virtual assistant coach and mentor. Her name is Sasha Eburne, and her goal is to inspire other women to create a flexible and rewarding life for themselves. Welcome to the WISDOME podcast, Sasha.
Hey, Nikki, thanks for having me.
Lovely having you here today. I'd love to know how you actually got started as a virtual assistant coach and mentor.
Well, I guess it started with the virtual assistant business and supporting different entrepreneurs and CEOs around the country. That just kind of happened one day. I followed a friend in the industry for quite some time, and she was being quite successful. After being a casualty of COVID and working in the hotel industry for such a very long time, being in sales in hotels, we were the first to go, and the hotel that I was working on became a quarantine hotel. It was the first one in the country and the last one to leave the program. So, you know, after a very rocky kind of career move and changes and things like that, I was in a role that wasn't fulfilling, wasn't enjoyable. And I just decided one day that I would start my business and see what happened. And I got my first client within 24 hours. I decided to resign in 2 weeks and go all in. And within 24 hours of going all in, I had another client and I was booked out by week 3.
Amazing.
So that's kind of how that business started, and using all of those methods that I had just known and mapped across from all of my other previous roles, it grew really fast, and that was a consistent booked out for quite some time. Then within 6 months, it went from an I to a we. And we now have a team of 10 virtual assistants around the country supporting business owners in very different capacities. And we've also branched out and have a little bit of a side arm with events by virtually assisted. So, because that's where I've come from, the events industry, and using all those methods that I did to create that successful business, which still runs, you know, now, decided that the fact that if I could create a flexible life for myself, why can't I teach others the methods that I used to make that business successful to do that for themselves? So that's really, I was just like, well, everybody else needs to be able to do this. If I can do it, single mum with a mortgage, then everybody else can do it. So I wanted to, you know, so that's essentially the mission, is to help others. And it just brings so much joy. And it's amazing when my clients text me and be like, I just quit my full-time job. I've now created my own income. So so I guess that's essentially how it started, sort of, you know, started with the actual business. And, you know, I think it definitely helps that I'm still very much in that business day to day. So then I can, you know, share the updated knowledge and things like that, because as you know, industries move and change all the time. And I'm constantly changing the coaching and everything to suit what's currently happening in the market today.
Yeah. That's amazing. And obviously, yes, okay, you have the sales background and everything. So I'm not going to let that one slide. You need to explain, okay, 24 hours, you found yourself your first client. How did you do that?
I created a website, and yes, I did have some web development experience. I come from a family of IT. My dad was a software developer. So we were using computers from the age of 4. So, in primary school and high school, I was learning to create websites. And back in those days, it was in HTML, and I did learn to write the code, which I do not remember how to do now. It's a lot easier to do now. However, just one night watching TV, it was quite easy for me to throw together a website. Exactly. It's a lot easier now than it used to be. And just being visible on some Facebook groups, changing my LinkedIn status, and literally just telling everyone and anyone. I saw an opportunity, I reached out, and it was within the industry that I've come from, being in events. So it wasn't, somebody within that industry. So it was just a good fit. And it was jumping on the call, building rapport with them, and essentially just asking for the business. So using the sales techniques, and I've broken that down into a shorter version of it, using the sales techniques that I had developed and mapped across from my past experience. It was quite an easy conversion to sort of say, I know your business, essentially I could do the work that you're looking for, this is how much it is, shall we get started? And it just kind of happened. And then I started seeing the potential of it. And that's why I was just like, well, who else can I work with?
Exactly. And that leads me to a question, because there's so many things that, we work in an industry and then we got to do it ourselves. And just, you made a point then, you've probably already answered the question. How easy was it to go from selling something for someone else to selling yourself?
It's actually easier.
It was easier. Okay.
It was easier because so many times that, yes, I was, doing sales, doing events and things like that. And, some days I'm just like, I actually don't like selling. I actually, some days I was just like, I actually preferred to do the work and to plan the events. Whereas then, a couple of months later, I'm like, no, I want to go back out there and sell. And it was kind of this toing and froing between events management and sales. And now I love the sales. I love getting on calls and learning about different people's businesses and working out how we can actually work together. And, I have no issue by saying, yes, let's work together. Whereas, when you're in a different environment, actually asking for the sale, sometimes you're like, it's kind of I guess in those things, you had to ask for every sale as well. Yeah, you had to ask for every sale because every lead is a sale. Whereas when you're in your own business, not every lead is a sale, and you don't want to work with everybody, and you get to make that choice of who you want to work with.
That's such a good point to make there, because you do have more, obviously, when you're doing it for yourself, you have more choice. But as respect to the audience that you really want to attract, you really have that choice. Exactly. That sell is a little bit easier because you can really relate to it. But obviously, on a broader spectrum, when you're working out there in the industry, it is a bit different, isn't it?
Yeah.
Definitely. What major lessons did you learn from how you sort of went into selling your offer and creating this business of sharing your knowledge with other people?
Yeah, very much about not working with everyone, not saying yes to everything, really working out what's important to you, what your boundaries are, how much you're willing to work, and also valuing your time in front of the clients. We all start somewhere and we all start with a low rate, and that's, generally how we do it. I like to coach people to, start off at a higher rate as well, because sometimes you've got that longer way to grow as well. I mean, I managed to turn the rates around quite quickly. However, if somebody starts off quite low within the industry, it's really hard to get that, that rate up there as well. So it's, really just working out also what is aligned with you, and not saying, I can do this, I can do this, I can do this, I can do this, and say having 10 different services and actually not enjoying half of them.
Yeah.
So really getting clear on what you enjoy and what you want to offer. And then that actually flows into sales as well, because when you're talking to people, they see how passionate you are. They see that you're confident in it. They see how you light up when you're talking about offering that service. And then they're going to want to work with you because you're confident in the product and the service and the price as well. So it's kind of that flow on. So yeah, definitely not saying yes to everything and really aligning yourself with what you're going to offer as a service.
So is that sort of with regards to how, we learn all, I've done marketing and so forth in the past, I studied marketing, but with respect to the message, what is your message? What is your ask? Is that basically on the same level as discovering, like really trying to nut down what your offer is in regards to price point, as well as who you're going to pass up, send that message to? Do they all align, do you think, or is there one higher than the other?
I think they definitely do align, because I think if you've got your products right and your services aligned with your price, then you are going to attract the right people. If you go out there and you have a premium service and you go and cost it lower than what it actually is valued at, then you're actually going to attract the wrong client. And sometimes you actually might end up doing more work in the long run because they weren't the right client, and it actually costs you more time and money to complete the project as well.
Yeah.
I think they're definitely aligned.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. Because I know there's so many questions that are put out there quite often, in the networks that we all are in, very ancestral. And it's just, there's always that, I don't know what price point to ask for. And especially in the coaching world, or mentor world, it's like, you have this value, but you're trying to get your foot in the door. And it's like, I want to attract the right client, but how do I get them to trust me first? Do you have any suggestions for anyone out there to build that trust, to build that value before asking for the offer?
Yeah, definitely. I think it's very much about building that rapport and finding the common ground with a client, especially if you're pitching to them. And also future pacing them is, what is the transformation that you're going to give that client? If you have a roadmap to set somebody up with $5,000 months, express that transformation and show social proof of that, because then you can actually ask for what it's worth. If your courses say only $3,500, however, you're all giving them a step-by-step guide to start earning $5,000 per month. It should, if you've built enough rapport and that they've seen the value of what the transformation is, should actually be an easy sell, because if they do the work, then they're going to get the results as well.
Yeah. And that's the other thing too, isn't it? They've got to do the work. So hard to keep on
have to do the work. And that's why, when we talk about coaching, is you want to work with those committed people as well. And, generally speaking, if you're talking to somebody and they don't see the value in it, either they're not committed or they can't see themselves getting to that transformation. So then how would you reword that to talk to them, to actually put their mind and their, put them in the shoes of actually what it's going to look and feel like to make that transformation?
Oh God, there's so much psychology behind it, isn't it?
So much
psychology, intuition, all that sort of stuff.
Yes.
That's why I think, females are probably the better coaches. But anyway, that's probably shouldn't say that.
Or they just haven't done the right training if you're talking about men.
But I would love to know, have you grown? How have you grown personally, in the way that you share your wisdom now compared to when you were selling corporate?
Yeah, I guess very different. And we all learn and grow, and still learning. Learning to show up more as my authentic self as well. Coming from the corporate world, it's very much, you put your jacket on when you leave the office, and you leave your home at the door and things like that. And very much coming into the coaching space and trying to build the rapport with people is, you just need to show up as your authentic self. The fact that, I'm just like everybody else. There's nothing special. There's nothing that they don't have that they can't get the transformation that I have. Like I mentioned, single mum with a mortgage, and I have created that flexibility life for me. And also, if you're talking about showing up authentically on social media, just being you. And just, it's kind of like when I first started in the online space, like, well, where's that line? Of professional to personal. And you know what, in the coaching space, especially when you're dealing, a B2C type arrangement, which coaching is, it's business direct to consumer, it is actually about being your authentic self, and it is about showing who you are personally, because that's what people are going to relate to. They're not going to relate to your past history as a corporate event manager or a sales manager. They're going to relate to you because you are their projection as well. It's just like they can see themselves in you. And I was where they were a couple of years ago as well, 40-minute traffic to work and hating your job and all of that. And if they can see that that's where I was, then they're more inclined to work with me and build that rapport as well.
The relatability really does not need to be there. Like, they've got
huge relatability.
Yeah.
So
what would you say you're most known for?
It's really about, if you're talking about
in business.
Yeah, I mean, in business, I guess it's just about really converting that client and building that rapport with them, the conversion rate is quite high. And, I talk to a lot of people and they're like, well, how soon can I get revenue? And I'm like, well, we can really fast track this if you wanted to and jump on a call and we can secure you a client. So, definitely for sales, conversion, and also, now really working with people just to show up authentically themselves as well. So that's, really that growth period. And I'm, hoping to become a lot more known for that in the industry as well, to, just show people just to be you.
And is this how you got your 2 minutes of fame on Sunrise?
That was well before I do any of that.
How did that come about?
I don't even know. I think I saw a Facebook post and I was just like, hey, that's me. I'm going to pitch my business and let's jump on Sunrise. So I did it. And funny story, I actually didn't even have social media then. I had 24 hours to quickly make all this social media happen. Just, that's how fast we grew. I was just like, oh, all Australians are going to be looking at me. I better create a social media account, and I think a lot of people, sometimes, it shows that they get stuck up on the detail and, I need a website, I need a Facebook and an Instagram.
Yeah.
And actually you don't. I just did that because I was going on Sunrise. So that just kind of happened and nearly fell off my chair when the email came. I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to be on Sunrise. And it was literally like, I have to do it. I have to work out what I'm going to say and keep it really short because it was only 30
very
seconds.
articulate and concise.
It was, yeah. And that was actually quite early in the beginning, before kind of a lot of the personal development work that I've done and everything, so the business has pivoted, shifted, and so much since Sunrise.
It's a great way to start. Usually that sort of stuff happens way after. So that's
exactly.
Oh, that's fantastic. What advice would you give anyone that's looking to start a wisdom business, like coaching?
Just start. Just actually take the step and be committed to the mission and what you want to do and making a difference. And you just sit there thinking about it or making a plan about it, you're not going to go anywhere.
Yeah.
Just do something every single day to move closer and closer to where you want to be.
Yeah, it's so true. Like one thing I know when it comes to starting a business, it's just taking that step and realize that each step is just small steps. Don't try and make big steps. You're just going to get there. And sometimes you might not get your first client in 24 hours like Sasha did, but but some people do. And it's just like you said, I really appreciate you saying the fact that just be authentic, because I think many of us do fall into that trap of, well, this is how I was at work. That's how they ran their business. I probably have to do the same thing, when in actual fact, it's not necessarily the case, not on all levels, that's how I feel anyway. Just be yourself. And it's so hard to be yourself sometimes. And Definitely. That fine line, it is so true. It's the fine line between professional and personal. Like really what do I do? Like I've rocked up to some.
There is no line. Just remove the line.
I've rocked up to a webinar before, just, as a viewer, and I just had my hair scrunched up and an old jacket on and everything, and then someone knew that I was there, that knew me, and then just threw me into a question. I had to put the video on and everything. I'm thinking, all right, well, this is
I'm
me.
not ready for this. Yeah, exactly.
This is me.
Here I am,
exactly. I'd love to ask, what legacy would you like to leave? Personal, business?
Yeah, I think it's both. I mean, they kind of go hand in hand. The legacy that I want to leave is just to show people that they can create what they want.
Yeah.
If they want more money in their life, they can make it. If they want to be able to have more time freedom, they can do it. Yeah. There are so many different ways that they can use what they already have to do that. And, to be able to work with, and, a lot of the clients that I work with are mothers and, families, to be able to provide them more time freedom so they can be present with their families. So, whilst that is the business mission, it does portray and, makes a difference to people's lives as well. And, I guess creates more abundance within their own lives and, gives them that flexibility to do what they want, which we've only got one life and everyone else deserves to choose to live it the way that they want to live it.
Nodding profusely over here. Totally agree. And is there an offer that you would like to share with our audience today?
Yeah, definitely. We have a checklist that's a free download that you can jump over to their website, or in the show notes, I'm sure you'll drop the link in. So it's 10 steps 7 steps. I can never remember.
7 steps.
7 steps to having $10,000 months as a virtual assistant.
That sounds awesome. And one last question, is there any tip or advice that you would like to share with our audience around what you actually provide with regards to, as a VA business coach?
What tip? Invest in yourself and get a coach. Business doesn't have to be lonely, and there's plenty of people out there to assist. And there's also plenty of places that you can get content as well. So invest in yourself, improve yourself. So, whilst not everyone is in the position to invest in a coach to start with, there are plenty of resources. We do have a Facebook community that's free, and I go on and do lives and, do interviews like this. Just absorb the content, and, the more you improve yourself, the more you can show up and be more present within your own life. And then, when you're in the position, definitely invest in your coach. And, even coaches, we all have coaches ourselves.
Yeah.
So business isn't lonely, and there are people out there that have the knowledge and wisdom to really project your business forward.
Yeah. No, that's great advice. Really great advice. Well, thank you so much, Sasha, for coming onto the WiseDome today. You've been absolutely fabulous to chat to. The details of Sasha's offer will be on our podcast summary, so be sure to click on the link below and don't forget to subscribe. And thank you again so much for your time, Sasha.
Thanks so much for having me. It was great.
I think, and I'm just going to stop this while we're telling Thanks for listening to the WiseDome podcast. If you enjoyed and have been inspired by this episode and you'd like to support the podcast, do subscribe and please share it with others. Post about us on social media or leave a rating and review. To catch all the latest from me, Nikki Kelly, you can follow me on Instagram at WiseDome Podcast, WISEDOME Podcast. I'm Nikki Kelly. Thanks again, and we'll catch up next time.